Ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, olúwa mi ò dìde ojó ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀.
Welcome to Theoryforge Chronicles. I am Phantom X, joined as always by Sog, legendary Neurotox, and the infamous Diggs, hopefully soon to be regular Sellayne, and a brand new guest, I.D. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Doing good.
So enthusiastic. I'm so excited. That didn't get anything out of any of you. Oh, yeah.
Yay!
All right. Before we get started, I think probably everyone already knows who you are, ID, but why don't you just give a real quick sort of who you are? Oh. You're muted. Not on my end.
Uh-oh. Or maybe he can't hear.
There we go.
There we go. That's better.
Yes, I'm I.D, the muted one. Some of you might have known me previously as Immaculate Deception.
Oh, there's an upgrade to the name. Gotcha. Okay.
It changed, and I actually went to a name, Ignatius Darkholm.
Oh, okay.
So I was keeping with the ID theme going through, and so once that changed, then I just stuck with ID.
Mm-hmm. So what prompted the change?
I actually made a move. I used to be with Blackheart and Sellayne with the Darkholm family, and just kind of went back to my roots, looking to just do just gentry focus, merchant type stuff instead of. It just got really big there.
Mm-hmm.
He had enough of me, so he left.
But now I realize that I can't get enough, so back in here.
Well, you told us, Sellayne.
What?
You told us last time that you might not want to be with you. Like that could be challenging. So.
I mean, I sent ID 2 quills. I was committed, but it just didn't work out.
She sent me some
stuff.
Yeah, some dirty lingerie too.
Ooh.
I thought that was our secret.
Not anymore.
Well, it was my lingerie, so
I got 10 sets still. Who's next?
I thought that she was gonna ask for it back.
There's still time.
No.
We'll see. Sog will have brand new giveaways to set up. So if you join us right now.
Oh, then that's among the giveaways.
What is? I don't know. I'm not set up to do that from here.
We were not sure where the 6 of us would end up. This is a very good start. So.
You're welcome.
Yeah, if we're doing lingerie giveaways, though, it has to be, instead of this like structured thing, it has to be just like tearing it off and throwing it into the crowd, right? That's the only way to go.
There we go.
You gotta be careful with the chain bikini. That might hurt.
So
isn't that the whole point?
Maybe.
You gotta shave first.
Oh. Manscaping.
We tricked you all. You thought we were going to talk about DSS.
I'm about to.
Surprise.
I have a question about because I have a question about this color choice thing. That sounded very interesting to me. Red and green, and possibly color issues for people who are colorblind. Did people who are colorblind complain about those 2 colors?
I haven't read any complaints about the red and the green anywhere. I know that in every web design textbook that I've seen and any class that I took, choosing to use red and green as opposite colors is not it's generally not good because it's not accessible to colorblind users. So there are other options available that you easily Google and figure that out. But then what's interesting is that if you didn't have access to the red and the green colors, You had just like that filmy, like slight gray difference that was very, very hard to tell the difference. So we got to then experience what it would be like if we were the colorblind users that couldn't see the difference. But I wanted to roll into that after talking about how happy I might have to mute myself because people are crazy. How happy I was with the DSS application. So I'm going to mute myself for a minute and let other people talk about that.
Well, no, we can switch to that and come back.
Well, go ahead.
So personally, I found that the color wasn't too bad for me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So I said a long time ago during Searing Plague that I was terribly disappointed in the quality of the work coming out of Soulbound because the web game was clunky, it didn't work right, it was work that I could have easily done better myself. But I was pleasant, and I said back then, all right, let's wait. What really matters is when we get to domain selection. That's when it's make or break. That's when now we're like really playing the game first time. And I was actually very happy with it. I did a little bit of peeking into how it was all working, and I really like the way they chose to put together that application. Just a couple bugs that were resolved pretty quickly, as far as I know, a couple name change bugs here and there. But it was real smooth. Like once it was up and running, people weren't being terrible and attacking the website. The loading times were good. Even if you didn't have all of the image tiles cached on your local machine, I was real happy with it. But the one thing that stood out that I didn't want, that was like a weird choice whenever there's all this good stuff, and but you don't choose red and green as opposite colors because it would be like having a restaurant that's not wheelchair accessible. You want to make sure that all of your users are able to see the difference.
But
I feel like that's nitpicking, honestly. We're not that far into development technically for a game that has this little funding, and to nitpick colorblind settings on the website, which 90% of websites in general don't have anyways, I think is.
Yeah, I'm thinking as long as we didn't get too many complaints, I guess maybe it was okay. Like I would expect to have seen complaints maybe on the forums or something. I'm not on
That's
the
why
forums,
the tooltips were there, though. You could mouse over and see if something was claimed.
I felt the red
like
and
I
green
said,
was
I
fine.
was generally happy with that, but that was something that stood out quickly to me as something I was taught to never do.
Yeah.
ID, we're still not hearing you.
You guys can't hear me at all?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
I saw you going in. I felt the red and green were fine. Like maybe they could have used the yellow for the green instead. But when it switched over after picking and you had the clear where you couldn't tell very well where things were at, who would picked already, that was a little off-putting for me. Having to go in every time and reset so that you could see something. Other than that, I thought it was pretty good though. It kind of felt like maybe they meant to come back to that later, but they were just hard pressed for time that they just didn't get back to it to set a color. And I mean, once you're picked, It's not a huge deal, but I mean, you still have fun kind of looking over the map and seeing where people are going, what's left open. So having a color for that, maybe like just instead of the base color, just keeping the green for everyone, that would have been nice, or a yellow for other people.
I'm gonna throw it out
raise your hand if you set someone as a proxy so you could see the selected tiles as like me. I know a few other people did it too, like to have someone else to click on so you could see what was picked and what wasn't.
Yeah, so I go back to that thing. The use of patterns along with color is also something very helpful. Just put diagonal stripes through the ones that are selected one way and polka dots on the ones that are selected another way. And that's all you had to do. You don't even need to use color.
Yeah, and even that, I didn't think it was a huge deal. Like once you're picked and you're in, not a big deal. It just kind of seemed like something that maybe was overlooked, but I don't want to say that they absolutely did.
So another thing with DSS, I was like super hyped for. I was really excited. Super hyped for me is like this facial expression. This is my super hype, you know. But I was very excited about it. I was looking forward to it for a long time, even more than some of the later phases of the game. And when we got to it, it was one of the things that interests me is how little variation from people's plans there was. Like how many people, there wasn't that much disruption on any server where people just went in, they picked where their existing communities were, they talked with people around them about where they were going to pick and worked together to do that. And it was kind of slow because the way the timing and the pick times were changed. So I was excited thinking, this is going to be chaotic. It's going to be, I'm never going to know what's going to happen. It's going to be hard to keep up with. But instead, it was just like every several hours, I found out that someone did exactly what we expected them to do.
There were some surprises, though.
Well,
Yeah, a few.
I mean, really, people have been spending how many months planning this? So, I mean, I guess unless there was a great unknown that gets thrown into it, that's sort of.
I think in 5 days is when the upsets will happen.
Yeah, my question is, did our years of community building actually lessen the experience of domain selection?
No, the amount of money spent ensured your selection. That's what this is.
You wanted more blood?
I honestly think
I like chaos.
It's one of those things where it's in a vacuum that no gamer's ever seen a game before, but they know about games somehow, and they suddenly see this, and everybody's coming in right at DSS, which is done by, let's say, lottery or by a popularity contest or something. I don't know that would necessarily turn out any better or worse, any relatively different even than what they did, where people came with communities and used money as the way to kind of get access to things in order and at the level that they purchased at. I really don't think one or the other is necessarily going to make the game better or worse for the vast majority of people. But the reality of it is, if you don't have large communities coming in and backing a game like this, it's not going to go anywhere. Developers are all getting shut out trying to do stuff like this because investors are gun shy. We saw EverQuest Next Landmark go down the drain. We saw Revival hit a tragic end. And everyone taking up the torch after that is basically fighting an uphill battle, because you have to get it all out of your own pockets at this point, all out of the pockets of people who are interested in the game. So it's the reality that we couldn't just have this as a game existing in a vacuum that we suddenly stumbled upon and had had DSS sorted out in such a way that it was considered fair and reasonable for everyone. Even that reality just doesn't exist. money is a thing. The challenge of making a new and unique sort of game, especially when you're fighting an uphill battle with trying to get press and media. You know, the MMO websites are all like doom and gloom anytime anything comes up, and never really put out a positive article. It seems it's unfortunate, but really, this is the only way the game actually could have existed.
I'm still wondering if people are going to be able to have the societal relationships, or like, I'm wondering how the pressures of religion and each tribe's cultures is going to actually affect people trying to run their governments. Again, you know, it could be that religions, the gods, push for wars against people that they thought were going to be allies, and what do you do at that point?
You go to war.
You do it.
You just do it.
Or
Well,
maybe
I
you
think
risk
we're
the
gonna
wrath
be-
of the gods. I don't know.
I think there's going to be, even at the higher levels of nobility, I think a lot of it is going to be riding the wave, but trying to shape the wave. So, like, if we have this idea that even without players, the world could operate on its own, and the NPCs have drives, and it's already built into that system that there will be conflict between NPCs, so that there's enough entropy injected into the system, at least, that it'll never become a stable system. There'll always be fighting for one thing or another. There'll always be conflict. And let's say Phantom X and I had counties right next to each other, and all of the NPCs in my county hated all of the NPCs in his county. Like, we're at war whether I say we are or not. And once we get in there, it'll be interesting to see how much influence we're able to exert. It might be that all of our dreams about building this cohesive, work together society, you know, that's fine if the people in the society, which are mostly NPCs, want to do that, but they're not designed to want to do that, as far as I can tell.
Well,
Yeah,
exactly.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, well, what if we don't even have that much time for conflict as it is? What if the actual management side of nobility is just so intensive that going off to war takes you away from that, and you actually lose out back in your homeland if you go off to war? I mean, we there's a lot that we don't know about this game that they could surprise us with.
So my favorite Storybricks example from EQNext. So I'm a Care Bear. I prefer to not engage in combat. If I can avoid combat, I will avoid combat and hopefully use a diplomatic or charisma skill to get what I want. But Storybricks gave a scenario for EQNext where the Dark Elves would go to Kitthakor Forest to kill dryads and siphon off their life energy, take it back to their home and transmute it into shadow energy. And the shadow energy would power skills like stealth and stealth armor. And I'm a stealth guy. So I'm like, I mean, if I gotta go to Kitthakor Forest and kill some dryads so that my stealth will be better, that's what I'm gonna do. And if some druids come along and they want to save the life energy there, because it's draining from the forest, and the forest will die out if too much life energy is drained, so they're probably going to be interested in maintaining the life energy. And what nobody knows is that draining too much is going to release the shadow demon. Druids might know that that's going to be a consequence. But if the druids are going to stop me from increasing my stealth, I might have to kill some druids. And it's not because I want to kill them. That's just a byproduct of me needing to get more stealth. And if we have that kind of conflict built in, we might have to go to war with, or enter into combat with people that we thought were going to be our ally. Just don't know, right? That could be an interesting thing.
The same thing kind of comes into play where I'm going to be is with the Genoan. People that are your friends right now might be of a different settlement of Genoans, and their hunting grounds might come into conflict with our own, and eventually you might have to fight each other just over hunting grounds, and it might not even be something where we don't like each other. It's just for fun. It's whoever runs this area is whoever beats the other one up. I mean, it's not all conflicts in this game are going to have to be huge scale, taking land. It could just be simple. We come across another group that's hunting in the same area, and simple purposes of protecting our area, we let them know we don't want them there.
Yeah, we like you. We just don't like you here.
Yeah, like you've got extra lives. Just go on back over there. Okay. But then, like in our where Zog and I are on the opposite of that, our Torresque is just the opposite. Doing something like that probably would land you in a lot of trouble because everything there is kind of seems law-backed, contractual, and whatever it is you sign up to do, you end up having to follow and do. So in places like that, wars might be more signed with a pen than with going and taking over land.
Yeah, more economic battling, and the one thing about the Torresque is that, like, once you sign a contract, you follow through. But in the leading up to that, there's nothing. It's not culturally taboo to totally misrepresent yourself going into it, right? So they don't value honesty in negotiation. They just value following through with the agreement that you made. So there may be times when, the physical conflict comes when, you kind of bit off more than you could chew, and now you're that guy that can't get the job done, and the Torresque around you are rising up because they don't want to be working for the guy that can't live up to the agreement that he made. Like, good work getting that deal, but if you can't do it, we want somebody that's making real deals, and they'll replace you.
Your reputation could take a big shot from that, and that's a big deal in this game. If your reputation is bad, people might not sign a contract with you at all.
Well, see, that's the big equalizer in CoE, is it doesn't really matter how much money you've spent to get your title or your land or all of this promo stuff. The equalizer here is the person who can master the mechanics of the game better than the other guy is going to win.
What is winning?
Whatever you want it to
Winning is getting the outcome that you desire, whatever that may be.
Okay.
See, I wonder about like the sort of border conflicts, because you mentioned NPCs. So at what point does something happen? NPCs have their own drives. It grows into a bigger thing, and at what point do they expect their count, their duke, their king to go to war with them? And what happens when they don't? When they try to solve it with just pen and paper? I don't know if the AI will be that complex, but like, are there going to be instances where it's not even our choice necessarily?
I'm
we're going to be trying to reel them back in, wrangle them back in. Stay in our borders. Stop crossing the borders.
So, on this note, like that actual gameplay and actually interacting with NPCs, which I believe is going to be the majority of our gameplay at any level, is going to be interacting with NPCs, whether you're fighting them or talking to them, right? Am I alone in that thought, or no?
I think NPCs
you're probably
will be
right.
more dependable.
What did you say, ID?
I actually think NPCs will be more dependable. I mean, you want to have PCs for certain things, but like if, for instance, for me, from the gentry side of things, you might want to build up a business with mostly NPCs. They never log out. They don't go away for a couple days. Like,
They aren't greedy.
Maybe.
They might be greedy.
They might be greedy.
They will not be as greedy as human.
That's probably
That would be a shame. I hope they're
you don't
more
know
greedy.
that, yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Can we turn up the greed? Any devs there? Turn up the greed a little bit. You know, hit that greed dial.
Well, I did want to say that I thought that DSS was more fun than I was expecting it to be. And even my co-hosts enjoyed it way more than I thought they would enjoy it. I mean, Phantom just went nuts with his enjoyment.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Well, and so, especially because with the Searing Plague, I was bending your guys' arms behind your backs trying to get you to engage in that game. Well, Neuro kind of was participating over on with DOP crew, but
you're like pinging me saying,
yeah.
have you logged in to press the button yet? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
why do I even care to do that?
Yeah.
I just couldn't.
Like, come on, can we make some trade? I want to trade stuff with you. And you're like, I'm never logging into this thing again.
I just traded anyone that suggested that they would trade with me. I wasn't playing either side. I was just,
sometimes I'd be asking you guys, and you guys were like, yeah.
I never had a plague token though. Until everyone got
3 times. I only looked at it 3 times, and it was just to get someone an Elyrian package and to get the T2.
Mm-hmm. Like, I had to try and make a second account so I could play with myself, make trades, because I can't even get my co-host to even just for the purposes of testing for a show.
It wasn't fun.
Like, I'm saying. So having you guys enjoy it so much, and then even people coming into the Discord channel just to talk about all the decisions, I thought it was a lot of fun. I don't think it ruins the fun at all. But one of the things, another thing that I do wonder about in terms of actually getting into play, well, and I don't know that people really talked about it, but I wonder how these professions are going to weigh in. What professions are most prevalent in these areas, and how that's actually going to affect how people play. Like, one of the things, translator, I came across a couple of days ago that I didn't know was there. I mean, I saw diplomat and spy and some other.
There's a whole bunch in there.
Charisma-oriented things that I was that I'm kind of hoping to check out. Translator would definitely be one.
You mean interpreter?
Interpreter, that's right.
Interpreter is traditionally a dress profession, actually, from what I've read.
But what that means is I would have to go somewhere to find that. It might not be around where I happen to be, and what's that going to mean? And will there be open borders for me to go train with those people wherever they happen to be? Stuff like that. I just wonder about, what kind of chaos and conflict might that cause?
You just might have to sneak in somewhere.
Yeah. Where are you hoping to start? Do you know yet?
Nero probably knows where I'm starting more than I do, but
you're in Ashland somewhere. Yeah.
Sanctifandry somewhere. One of my characters.
Yeah. One of your 30 alts. Yeah.
No, that's the challenge, is to get me up to more than 2.
It's an interesting question, because I haven't looked too much into all that yet. Putting this map thing together, though, you do, as I'm testing it, start to see some interesting little patterns. Like, I think there was one with astronomers, and was it you that pointed out, ID, that they all fit
yes,
along raised areas? Is where those
it looked like they were all in mountainous areas, and in real life, a lot of astronomers, they'll work in their observatories that are up high on mountains in higher areas. So it kind of looked like that they were setting it up where astronomers were in higher elevation areas. Pretty cool.
So based on a lot of that, if you are going to specifically try to play a certain profession, then yeah, I imagine there will be certain areas that you'll want to be in. Otherwise, they wouldn't have it.
Yeah, so like Sanctifandry had notable professions are diplomat, spy, and dungeoneer, which a ranger. I'm typically like a rogue type. So those were like interesting me. And then I don't remember where interpreter is, but I would probably have
I really
to go.
can't wait till I can explore more, because it's kind of interesting how they set things up, because I don't remember the actual terms, but like the people in Riftwood that made the beer were like a fair distance away from the people that sold the beer. So it's just interesting how some of those different things set up. There's like 122 different notable professions, I think, and 120 I don't know, something other. There's a whole lot to look at. I just haven't had time.
When I was noticing the interpreters, they were a lot on the border between like biomes, between different tribal areas. So you might be hanging around with a lot of diplomats and places like that.
I will say, the one thing I find the most interesting in working through all these maps is most of the defenses are not along kingdom borders. Most of them are internal, which is
it's
interesting.
Okay. I got a trebuchet and a catapult. So I'll be reproducing these.
It's as though we're being set up to. Yeah, it's as though we're being set up to defend against our own fellow counts and dukes and duchesses and countesses.
As someone I know, Tarvald once said, a lot of the capitals and cities and all those are turn red at some point in time on that map. Whenever we can finally put down installations, a lot of these will turn into military buildings.
I just find that interesting.
In exposition, we'll have the opportunity to take our settlements and turn them into defensive settlements.
So we don't really know what it is, if it's just a wall or if it's a barracks or just a single keep. But whatever it is, I'm sure we'll see a lot more military once we place our own.
So this is a pretty reasonable segue point. Who has thoughts about Kickstarterversary?
I'm glad to see the second half of the things finally come up. The next list of rewards. That's been quite fun to look through and see how that's been coming through. We finally have gliders on the store. It's not just going to be handed to us, but instead you have to purchase, and it'll also be available. They already got so far with the stuff. It was the Hunter's Cloak and the double rare that were pretty much already unlocked, the hothouse, before they even got the rewards up or something. We now have the subterranean volcanic ecotope. That's on the list. And then the Adventure Islands is the next one on the target. And honestly, with the amount of time left, they might need to put one or two more rewards up still.
I haven't done
that. For sure.
Was double rare your idea?
It was my idea, yeah. You're welcome.
We haven't done the math in a while, but when we were checking it out, we were on way that 1 million is possible. I mean,
oh yeah,
if they were to hit 1 million with this, that would be pretty special.
It's perfect timing.
I think they need to come up with a new stretch goal for 1 million, though.
Madari, please. Are you hearing
episode
me?
38?
Are you watching, Caspian? I want Madari. Goddammit!
It's the perfect.
They'll be the
first
ones
time
on the Adventure Islands.
I don't know if it was.
I don't
planned.
care where they are. I just want them, please. Thank you.
Like I don't know if it was planned this way or just happy accident, but I mean, really, the timing with everyone being so excited with the SS, finally getting some spot in the world that they can start to visualize and plan. I mean, it's just the perfect time to do it. So that's why you're getting. That's probably why you're getting so much money being spent. Because
I
now
think
they
it
can
was
start to
also
see.
the drought of no promos for a while. People had funds laying around that they could dump into.
Because Kickstarterversary was supposed to happen a few months before, so the fact that it had been going so much longer, I think some people might have been kind of saving up and getting ready for it a little bit. The and the promotions this week, it's kind of a cool set of stuff actually.
The coastal cutters, by the way, are rare quality.
Yes,
it's
the coastal
not
cutter
noted, and that's my biggest complaint about the store.
In the
is that the descriptions are missing so much.
in the 2018 posts, they do actually talk about that. I was looking at that stuff about that earlier. The Otter Barge, though, I believe is more or less just the standard quality versions of things. It's just 2 Otter Bears, barge, and all the other equipment probably does come out to about 125. So, and that of course raises the question: well, is a coastal cutter? Is this a rare coastal cutter, or is the coastal cutter a rare form of fast light ship? And that a different type of fast light sort of ship is what the common version, the $15 version, essentially be. This is going back to the common, uncommon, rare, 1, 2x, and 5x.
It's just a ship of rare quality.
Just
That's
a ship
all.
of rare quality.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though, I want to go back to is they need to help people make informed purchases by giving a clear description of exactly what people are buying. Because right now, the Coastal Cutter, you would sell a lot more to new people, especially if they knew that the quality was rare, but it's not on the description.
That's true.
So this is a really dumb question.
Mm-hmm.
Rare versus common. Is that just quality of materials, and what does that actually mean? Is it going to last longer?
It could
Does it
be a
degrade
combination
slower?
of material and the reputation. Like the Legendary Tavern is legendary because of its reputation, and that can decrease if you don't take care.
And what reputation and all of that stuff actually amounts to, I'm guessing, is something mechanical that they won't ever actually share to make sure we don't min-max it.
Well,
I mean,
my question would be: are people going to have skills to repair rare early on, or is if someone repairs it, does it get downgraded because it's being repaired with lesser quality?
I have the same question about farming.
Yeah, I mean, that's my worry about stuff like rare is it good just until it gets degraded and then it's going to go back down to common when you repair it, or how do all these things work?
I hope that the person who repairs it has to have X skill in order to maintain the quality of the original work. That would make sense to me at least.
Yeah, because you might downgrade it just by fumbling with the tool while you're fixing it. And so it becomes common rather than rare.
And I've had the same sort of questions about all of the crops and things they're selling too. Like I don't expect that I'll be using those right away because you're going to have, we already know, right? You'll have to have some sort of skill, 1, to harvest seeds so you can replant, and 2, have some sort of skill to be able to save those seeds. So since crop, seasons are so quick, I wonder how many people will set down, their farm, and it just sort of goes to waste because they don't have the skill at that point to kind of continue not just harvesting the fruit or whatever, the vegetables, but actually be able to take seeds out so you can do it again next season.
So,
big question.
Wait a second. I have one question to follow up there. Do you think you'd have to share crop in order to work up instead of before you do your own farm? How would you build up your skill in scenario?
Well, I mean, you would obviously start with things you find in nature. Things that are easy to do that. You have to start somewhere. So start with low-level things. I don't know, simple corn, simple whatever, soybeans.
Whatever is just forageable in the environment.
Versus I just spend $15 on the seed packet. If I use that right away, am I sort of screwed going forward, or do I need to probably wait?
Well, I think
we also know that alchemy can improve the soil. So that's another way that you could improve your crops is through alchemy.
Well, yeah, and I mean more just with the reharvesting, right? So you're going to have a way to have seeds for the next season. So Snipe has said that is a skill that has to be gained to do that. 1, to harvest them, 2, to actually preserve them. So
seed banks will be a thing.
Yeah.
Plus, you can contract someone that's better than you to come in and do the work. And one of the ways to learn in game is to watch. So you could watch them while they're doing what they're doing, learn from them, and then work on it from there. So you might have to contract in people, NPCs, to come do some of that work for you at first, and then learn from it, and take over yourself.
This is where I think.
My follow-up question to that is, where do you have the money to hire them?
Well, you don't need to have
steal it.
money if you spark into a family that has those skills already. You can
Yeah,
learn from your family member.
That's what I was gonna say. Is that we're not coming into the world as like, rank beginners with absolutely zero everything. Characters are, at least somebody who's lived some amount of time in the world. So we're not completely useless and trying to run off and kill rats in the first
Yeah.
basement town to get a little coin or something. But that is a good point.
But don't forget about bolstering as well, which is a thing to make it easier for people who don't have skills to get in with their group and learn, and so they're not at a huge deficient.
Yeah. And again, it is a world with NPCs, so being able to work alongside existing NPCs and, take orders from one of them for a moment until you've got the skills to kind of take over your own stuff, that definitely makes sense as an objective, as a way to do things. I did want to talk about before we, or once we're ready to move on, the invitation per adventure. That seems pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. I bought it.
Yeah, I got one.
I didn't buy it.
It's still available for purchase for throughout the week. From the sound of it, I think you actually will be able to will it to somebody, in that if there's some objective that that the adventure wants to send you on, you can tell somebody else, hey, I have this adventure to go here and do this, but I'm like, big shot royalty. I've got a nation to run. So you do it and bring me the rewards back.
I did not get that feeling from it at all,
I'll have to
because like
find.
your
There was a
story
post
is
about
your
that.
story, right? It's a modification to your personal story.
Yes, but that doesn't mean you necessarily have to be the one who goes through the actions on it.
Well, how does the game know that you completed the objective if somebody else did it? And how would they be able to complete the objective if they didn't have it?
Contract?
How can you contract the story engine to somebody?
If it's someone that you have delegated power and responsibility to, it might be connected through that.
Yeah, I think it depends on what the objectives are.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It's kind of hard to tell at this point in time.
If your job, what did we talk about a long time ago? If your job is to build a bridge and somebody else builds the bridge and you go claim that you built it, does that count? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, your job is to make sure that there was a bridge there. I would hope that you could do a little bit of that, but the invitation to adventure sounds to me like you're supposed to be the one doing it. And I would imagine that if you used the invitation to adventure and then you kind of passed it off to somebody else, that you would take a hit of some kind, that it would be that you would have it would be a negative. And just like they talked about with the story engine, that people are going to come up to you with things that they may want you to do or kind of steer you in a direction. And depending on the direction that you choose, your affinities, your story will change. So if you're the guy that, creates an opportunity for you to say yes, and then you say no,
Seems like a waste of $40.
It's either a waste of $40 or it's the coolest thing anyone's ever done with the story engine. If it then puts you down a spiraling negative path.
It seems weird to have a destiny by proxy. It's pretty diluted. It kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
I mean, in a game where there's delegation and people working for you, if getting something done is part of that storyline and you have a lot of responsibilities, you might look at that and say, I've got this person who's better suited to finish this part of the story. It might be cool if I could then delegate them to doing that and not be heavily penalized, because that.
I got a source to cite here.
Okay.
In the forums, the post is called Call to Adventure. We've got page 2, response 16 from Snipe Hunter. Below the last quote, the first paragraph, he says, it's up to you and your character to decide if you want to pursue the matter or potentially pass the item or the information on to someone else. A king might commission a party to pursue the issue and return when they find what they find in exchange for a reward or status or both, for example. So it does sound like this is something that will be able to be passed on to somebody else. So
transferring it before you commit, that I can understand.
Either it's that or it's that you activate it and then you realize, oh, hey, my cousin so-and-so had this old cache out in whereversville, and all I know is some rumors about it, but I don't have time to pursue that. And so you hire some investigators to take care of it for you.
So you're like the King Arthur that doesn't go on the Grail quest, but is just like, hey guys, go on this Grail quest for me.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like the least epic thing ever. I think the whole point of, if you're buying this item, is to have your epic adventure.
It could be, or it could be that you want an epic adventure, something meaningful and story related associated with your character that can be completed. Just that you won't necessarily have the time to do it yourself, or it's something that you plan to activate on your king and then play out on your alt, for example.
Would you do that?
Me? Yeah, hell yeah.
You would buy an invitation to adventure.
I am 100% doing that. I'm going to activate it on my Gentry character and have it played out on my adventuring character. That
seems like bad
my plan
right there. I do not approve of this kind of multiplay.
Well, no, it's all on the same account. It's just two different, it's two different sparks, two different souls.
And what's the thought behind that? Why are you doing it that way?
Because the Gentry is going to be the one with the higher reputation, so they're going to have a more intriguing quest, I would imagine. And so launch it with them, and then have the one who actually adventures. The Naren is always going to be the bureaucrat, and the Kipik is always going to be the one on the road. Mm-hmm. So that's how it's going to play out.
Sounds like we might have to do a
the question is
party.
You might still have to find a way through that to still get some story points if you're going to run like a dynasty for your Gentry.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how it plays out. It could always, it could even be different from person to person, adventure to adventure. But the way that it's kind of described is basically this like catalyst, the spark of adventure, the owls flooding your house with letters to go to wizard school, or the protocol droid and its buddy that looks like a trash can happen to have some little video that was specifically for you in it, or etc. Gandalf knocking at the door. That's it's all that's kind of what this is supposed to be, is an item that upon activation gives you a quest of that magnitude.
So Gandalf comes to the door. Yeah, you use this item. You get this knock on the door. Gandalf comes to the door and he's like, Neuro, I need you to take the rig to Mordor. And you're like, hey, how about my Kipik friend does that instead?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you got a hot date.
Friend, cousin, you mean?
Sounds so epic.
Here's my cousin. He can hide places and see in the dark. See ya.
He's a Kipik. He's not your cousin.
Yeah. Close enough.
I'm curious how many people bought the map that shows you life forms.
I bought 3.
I got one of those.
Like probably bought like the first 10.
3 tells me a lot right away.
Yeah.
I also got one of those.
Not me. We're going all natural.
I regret that purchase though, because it's like I kind of like I fell into the trap of like it's a limited quantity and I might never be able to get it again, and I actually feel bad for buying it because it's not the kind of item that I was super excited about, but I don't know.
I mean, I plan to be the fishing whisperer or whatever, that I can go take my boat out on the water for a moment, do the thing with the map, and then tell all the fishermen, here, all these are all of the spots, go collect food.
You saw that map and you immediately thought of a fish finder?
No, it's a merman.
just one. Well, it's I see it as it's a life radar. So anywhere that I want to be able to know where remote life is, distributed, out on the open water, it's going to be a hell of a lot easier using that map to know what's below us than try to dive down and see it.
I'd like to know the details on what exactly it drains from you when you use it.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too.
Your stamina. You have to rest after using.
Yeah.
Is there any more than that? I mean, do we know for sure that it's just stamina?
That's what it said.
Rapidly losing your stamina and having to replenish it has some other physiological impact on the character. No, I think it's just you get tired.
I was hoping if you're searching for life forces, it takes part of your life force.
Yeah, like takes a little bit of spirit each time to do.
Yeah. I don't know.
I just figure it's like crazy and hallucinogenic to look at for too long.
How many other than the legendary like taverns, how many other items have been limited to like 250 or less per server, right? There's not been any. So it must be.
That's the first one besides the tavern.
So it must be fairly powerful.
I got it not because I was excited about it or wanted to use them. I got it because I know there's going to be a lot more people coming into the game. We're like the minority group, and I know they're going to be excited about it. And so I have one if I want to use it, one for later, and one if I lose the other two.
Oh, I'm going to lose mine. I'm going to forget that I have it and leave it on the desk, and someone's going to take it from me.
Yeah, you might want to keep your usage of it kind of secret. When people find out you have these.
Too late now.
So, with this promotion and with this, I wanted to talk about limited items a little bit, because we talked about rare as being a quality of an item, legendary as quality of an item, and it's supposed to somehow correlate to how prevalent the item is in the game. So it's the same as in a trading card game, the rare cards, the harder to get cards in a pack are the more powerful cards. So the less likely to drop item off of a boss in World of Warcraft is the more powerful one. And so we have Cardinal Bees came back. Be happy about that or not be happy about that. They were going to come back anyway. But these are supposed to be a rare quality thing, and immediately we see the payment shooting up. I'm like, how many now rare bees are like the bees that everyone has when they start the game? I know I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I see the limited keyword as something meaningful, like that. In the past, when they said this probably won't come back, or it won't come back in this promotion, and it's a one of a time thing, but the limited keyword and selling a limited amount, I think, is a distinction from these other items, that it's like rareness as a quality. Like, this is actually, it's something that is meaningful enough to the world that they need to actively limit how much are present. So I was interested to see that, and see how that changes the way we have to look at everything else that's ever come out. Because even though the Coastal Cutter is a rare quality item, it's an unlimited item. If I had $1 million, I could spend $1 million on Coastal Cutters.
I mean, hell, if you wanted to
that
spend $1 million, you could just get the legendary quality ones with the EP store a la carte.
Yeah, but the benefit to buying them now in the store is that a rare quality cutter is going to cost you less if you buy it with cash now versus EP later. So that's the main benefit to buying the rare cutter right now.
Are we? But we
Maybe.
don't have a real EP store yet, and we
Yeah,
have
we don't
like
But we
have
have
it
the
to value.
projections, and Caspian has
Yeah.
time and time again confirmed that all of their pricing is based off of those projections made in 2016.
Yeah, it's been said a few times, I do believe, that the prices that we're getting now are supposed to be, you're supposed to get like a slight lesser cost compared to what you would be paying for it in EP in the store.
The way that I understood it, looking at the math myself, was that everything except for the $200 for 3,000 package, you get a better deal if you buy them straight from the store. But if you do get the highest tier package or the tournament coins, the was it 150 for 10, that you're getting a price value that's higher than buying them off the store relative to what the EP
Yeah,
store
but you're
would have.
limited to 1,500 EP because you can only buy 10 tokens and you can't transfer EP.
Oh no, the 200 thing is still $200 for
that's the
3,000.
same exchange
Yeah.
rate as tokens.
And I expect that's going to come back in a future sale. They say it's about to go away, but it's going to come back.
I think the
I'm
price of
pretty
EP
sure.
is going to end up going up. I don't think we're going to see a discount again because we're so close to the EP store being released.
Are we? I mean,
Yeah, I think we
we'll
are.
see. Okay.
2022.
I think maybe after Christmas, first of the year, around that time, we might.
Oh,
EP
they
store
could still
for
have another little sale before then.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we're gonna get like Christmas promo and stuff like we did last year.
Yeah, there'll definitely have to be a Christmas promo.
I would be surprised if gift cards came back for the Christmas promo. I think those
I think
are just
gift
going to
cards
be
were a legal issue. I don't think they will want to open that up.
Oh, sir, you got a lot of faith in the EP store, huh? All right. Well, we're looking forward to it.
Any hint on timing?
asking for dates.
Testing him here.
Yeah.
I'm sure his lips are sealed.
Yeah.
It's always seen TM, yeah.
And now I'm about to buy more EP.
But how much EP is enough EP though? Right?
I don't
I
have
feel like no
any
matter
idea.
how much I buy, it's never enough.
Well, from what we've been seeing lately, though, like the value of story points is going up. So even if you buy too much EP, it just turns into story points.
Is it because of the Seed Your Destiny thing?
Yeah, that's part of it. And if that's what we're seeing now, how many more things will we see that's connected to story points in the end? If nothing else, then to maintain your airlines, because the story points stay with you forever until you use them. So it's
I mean, I thought it was harder for people who were lower tier, like Illyrians and stuff, to get story points than it was for like people who start out as nobility.
It will be. I would imagine, just based upon the scope of the storyline.
Those people, though, are less likely to buy EP. Like, you need to be bloodline and higher to be able to use it anyway.
Right.
I think based on the reward, and I can't imagine not selling story points at character creation. People might be upset with it. I would do it. Like, if we have this ability to spend story points and do these things to start your character down or nudge your character down a path, and you're spending story points, like, we already have a precedent to buy story points with a bad conversion rate. Like, they're expensive with EP converting to story points. Now, what if when I want to spark, when I'm doing this, what if I want to spend $50 to get a story point pack to kind of give my character a head start? I would be totally okay with that. I can't imagine not doing it because I can imagine lots of other people clicking that button and saying, "Yeah, well, I've had this Spark forever. Like, what? I'll pay to have a boost." People buy level 100 boosts or level 110 boosts and WoW all the time. And I think that would be a fine thing to do. I don't know if the studio does, but when I see that reward in the store, or the reward from Kickstarterversary, I just can't imagine not selling it.
Well, now it's an add-on to their original pricing scheme for the Sparks. And how is that going to feel to people who have a Spark, just spent $25, and they're like, damn, now I can buy some story points and I can customize it even further. Now we're starting to get into that slippery slope of add-ons. Like, you already bought the game, you want to play a little longer, but you might get some advantages if you get the story points.
Or you'll have a little bit of control over the early experiences that you have in the game, is how I treat it. Not that, and story points carry forward, so you may have the opportunity to earn some more story points for the future. But I'd be perfectly okay with going down this slippery slope of add-ons. As long as you're not in game, buying an item that magically appears in your inventory. We're already in a position where there are tiered starting locations. It would be fine with me, but it's okay for other people to not agree with me.
Yeah, I agree, Holdra. I'm just reading your comment in the chat that it was the story points were designed to prevent people from just griefing other people uncontrollably, because if you died before you had enough story points, well, you're kind of. But if you can just buy them from the store, and plus you get an advantage if you do, then what's the point? Just charge us more for a Spark.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something a little bit interesting to see how it plays out, and I actually wonder what different concepts and models have been proposed from, honestly, the different departments, because I bet the solutions that design and engineering has been thinking about for how to tackle this is different than like marketing and finance and how they want it approached. So it's going to be interesting to see, I guess, what the resolution of those of the people making the fun side versus the people making the money making side of things, and where they actually resolve on all of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm all for them making more money in any way that they can see fit, but I would like it to be done a little bit more ethically than just selling an add-on to an add.
In terms of EP to SP, we don't even really know a conversion rate. If they end up seeing a lot of people building up EP to just transfer over to SP, they could just change the conversion rate. That's kind of the risk to go in that route, is we don't know, if 10,000 EP turns into 2,000 story points, that's not a great conversion rate. Or it might be, we don't even know like how much one SP is really worth in terms of doing something in game with it. So the base idea I think is pretty cool, because that way if you spend money on EP and you find out later, I don't really need all of this, at least it's not a waste. But
yeah, but here, this is a great place to end. We've just spent a lot of time talking about stuff that we don't know and that we would like to know more about. I mean, that seems like every day in C.
We are at the end. So this has been a fun stream.
I appreciate you guys having me over here.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for putting up with me again.
Well, you'll be back the next show too, right?
And then we can talk about how much we don't know.
Well, that's what we've done for 35 episodes, 36.
That's
Well,
what
if it
we've
works,
done
it
for
works.
5 years now, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, we have a track record of every game we've ever done a show on
Well,
never
I mean,
actually
it's
being
kind of in
released.
your name,
No.
Theoryforge.
After launch, only Souls and Sparks.
So Friday is an Ashen Forge show. Our next Chronicles of Elyria guest is our Torian Duke in Ashland.
Well, I'm sure he'd love to have Sellayne on with him.
Oh God,
He's
I'm not great with RP. I know he likes to RP. I'm not there. I'm not on his.
fashions himself the ladies' man.
Please, no more.
I am super
I already had to
intrigued
lock
now.
my door twice.
I can be a lady if necessary.
Will you put
All
on
right,
some
we're getting into a
lipstick?
whole
Come on
different
with the
show
wings.
topic here. So, all right. Well, everyone have as Sock said, we will be back Friday with the Ashen Forge, and everyone have a good day. Thanks for joining us, and see you.
Bye.
See you later. Thanks for coming, everybody.